I'm going to pick up where I left off last week. We're talking about the cessationist movement, where that things have ceased. Now, the belief in that movement is, and that theology is that when the last apostle died, when the Bible was completed, the miracles and the healings of God ceased at that point in time. Now, really, that particular movement's only about 100 years old. Back at the turn of the last century, a Presbyterian theologian named Benjamin B.B. Warfield, wrote a series of articles and papers condemning a new movement that was beginning to sweep the United States and the world. We know that today as the Pentecostal movement, the second outpouring of the Holy Spirit, the second book of Acts, as many people have tagged it. Well, he began to say that many spiritual gifts that these people were participating in could be explained as false gift. He actually identified many miracles and spiritual activities of God as if they were associated with cults and mystics. So according to Warfield, the early apostolic fathers and cults and mystics and so forth were all bunched together. And we know today that his research was basically a church fight. It was pitting this new movement, the Pentecostal movement, against the established denominations and organizational churches. And so he was trying to find a way to quench this, to get people to stop going over it. Now, I believe he was Dr. Warfield was genuinely a good man. He probably really believed in the things that he wrote, but he was trying to find evidence to prove that. But in so doing, he stepped over a whole lot of other evidence that basically proved just the opposite. These early church fathers, as we talked about last week, they wrote for 300-400 years about the move of God, about miracles, about exorcisms, about all kinds of things that were happening in their day, the gifts of the Holy Spirit, revelations, prophetic words, all those things that Pentecostals today and or charismatics, now I lean toward the charismatic, so I am charismatic in my theology, but he was basically saying that all these things were cultish. They're not cultish. Healing is not fringe Christianity. Did you know that Catholics believe in healing miracles and has for 2 centuries? People like Martin Luther practiced laying hands on sick people and had many marvelous, miraculous healings that happened in his ministry and in his service. Lutheranism started with healing. John Wesley and Charles Wesley, the 2 Wesley brothers, the founders of the Wesleyan movements and the Methodist movement, they had continual signs and wonders of healings and even different gifts of the Holy Spirit. Charles Wesley was actually on his deathbed and received what he described as receiving the infilling of the Holy Spirit, and was instantly healed and got up off of his deathbed, and he penned one of his most famous songs, "Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing his praise." And so we find that history doesn't lend itself to these accusations that all these things passed away when the last apostle died. But you know, once something gets started, once there's a belief that gets started, it just seems to keep like a snowball going on and on and on. You and I need to realize that God still works miracles of healings today. Don't listen to those that say that they have ceased. That is not true. Nowhere in the scriptures have they ceased.